What does it mean if a person's late all the time? Well, you don't know their situation. I like doing that. We have to fold our arms, scratch our shins, and pretend like we're a caring person. You don't know their situation. All the love in the world, man, and I mean this with all love in the world. I don't care. I don't care. Well, what if they have to drop off their little brother at school? I hear you, man. It's not my little brother. I didn't have him. I didn't have you. I'm not the one who's responsible for getting people in places. That's your job in life to figure out. That's so mean. No, it's so real. If I come along and just make excuses for you, what am I telling you? No, you guys aren't able to take care of yourselves. You need me. And by the way, there are lots of people out there who really like that role. Because the more that you need me, the more I feel like I have a meaning, I have a purpose. But here's the thing, you already have parents. You already have parents. You already have a family. You already have people in your lives. Now let me scratch my chin and frown again. Yeah, but I don't have the families other people have. That's true, and that's your burden to carry. Just like some people have the families they do have, and that's the burden that they carry. We all have the burdens we carry. If I step in and try to rescue you from all of your burdens, the message I'm sending to you is I believe you're too weak to carry your burdens. Parents get all mad and they're like, no, you can't. Do your parents really look like that when they say no to something? And they'll be like, oh, my teacher was yelling at me like, if you can't do this, then do they really look like that? It tells you something about the way that you impersonate people, what it is that you think about them. You ever impersonate somebody who you really, really like appreciate and respect and love, and you do that to them? Yeah, my boyfriend was telling me, I love you. Of course not. You guys ever talk about your girlfriend? Yeah, my girlfriend's all like, oh my God, you're the love of my life. I love you so much. I don't know, maybe you do. I'm just asking a question. And so, both of these are right, by the way, what Phoebe's saying and what Nicholas is saying. And they're both right because they both kind of work together. And it is true, like the things that, like he's pointing out, your soul is a dark forest. Okay, so these are the things that make up your soul. And so but the trees are of a particular species. They're genealogical. In other words, the things that make up your soul are all of these experiences that you have. Now, I know that we went to trauma, like, seeing gruesome pictures and then like verbal, physical, and psychological abuse. But what is it that made us go to trauma? I can guess, but the first part says a soul is a dark forest, so we tend to think of it as being like the dark things about us. And so we assume that if it's talking about darkness, that darkness it must be these tragic parts of our lives. And I would suggest to us that we really are like really hyper-focused on trauma. And one of the reasons that we studied trauma in this class was not just to say, here's why you are the way that you are. Now I've got my built-in excuse. No, you'll notice it was part of a continuum. This is why we are the way that we are. Have any of us not experienced trauma? You guys experience a heck of a lot. And it's not just because the world is so much terrible. It's just because you guys have access to cell phones and things like that like no other generation has. I mean, how long, if you go online, does it take you to come across really gruesome, ugly pictures? How many of you guys just got curious and so you're like, dead body, enter. And you could have been looking at those things, as soon as you got your first cell phone. Many of you guys, he's trying to help you. He cares. We'll circle up in a minute, we'll have a counseling session for you. He'll lead it. Curiosity. Any of you guys know who Ed Gein is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. Any of you guys watch the Netflix thing about him?
Yeah.
I was just watching it. He's an interesting character because, by the way, I hope you understand that the Netflix thing is like way off from what his real story was. The key aspects are there, but like, for example...
The gum thing?
Yeah, with the what?
The gum thing.
Gum thing.
He uses like the gum to change his personality or something.
I haven't gotten to that.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, you ruined it for me. No,
Hey, get out.
just kidding. Like the gum thing, yes. I was joking about that. Also, it's not even clear that he ever actually murdered anybody. We don't know that he did. There's a really strong suggestion he may have murdered his brother, and it is kind of similar to what it shows in the Netflix thing. But the Netflix thing, they make it really obvious. They had an argument. He got mad at his brother, so he hit him in the head and killed him. That isn't exactly what we know. What we know is that there was a fire on the property. His body was found. There was no autopsy done because he was badly burned, but they said they found signs of smoke inhalation. But they also said they found signs of some level of head trauma, but they're not sure. So, I mean, they didn't really do a very thorough job. So, did he kill his brother? Maybe. Maybe not. But in the series, they make it like obvious. Like, dude, he killed him. He shoots a woman in the head in the show. It's explicit. Now, again, none of that, we don't actually, as far as I understand it, we're not so sure that he did murder anybody. The really depraved things he did was what he did with people after they were dead, and he would dig them up. Now, there are, Psycho, the movie Psycho is based on his life. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that part's true. That's also based on him. But based on is different from it tells the true story. Now, my point is, I was watching, I'm not done with it yet, but I'm near the end of it. And I was watching some scenes. I won't go too much into them for obvious reasons, but they're really graphic. And I don't just mean like it's graphic in the sense that it shows him killing somebody. It's worse than that. And it's really graphic in some of the things that it depicts. And all of you who have a phone have access to that now. And so how old do you have to be to see something really gruesome? Not even, 4. Yeah, as soon as you get your phone, and a lot of us think like, oh, if I see that stuff, it doesn't really bother me, it doesn't really affect me. And you realize, yeah, it's desensitizing. But also, you hear your parents talk. Do you think that what your parents say, do you look at that and go, it doesn't really affect me, it doesn't really impact me at all? And then what's funny is that if you come in and you bring your parents and you sit next to them, I'll be able to look at it, if you give me a piece of paper and you just act normal and they act normal, I'll be able to go down the list and say, you talk like them this way, with this kind of intonation, with this kind of cadence, with this kind of timbre. Your body language is similar. And blah, blah. In other words, it does affect you, but it's so pernicious because we don't think it does. In other words, it's so gradual. It isn't like all of a sudden one day we get hit in the head and we go, oh my gosh, I talk like my dad. I talk like my mom. It isn't that obvious. It's just over time, and you grow up and you go, huh. Like there's even, like the way I talk to you guys right now, the sound of my voice, the timbre, the rhythm that I use, the beautiful rhythm that I use when I talk to you, it's a very, very different from how I talked growing up. When I was growing up, I spoke in a very different way, and I went out of my way to change the way that I talked because I understood where I was from, where I grew up. And I knew that people would judge me based off of the way that I spoke. And so I went out of my way to intentionally create my own way of speaking. Not my own way of speaking in the sense that no one talks like me, but it's very different from how I sounded growing up. Now, I've had people, especially when I was doing, people would ask me in school, not high school, but college, they'd ask me, where are you from? And I would say, Los Angeles. They go, no, originally, because you have an accent about you. Where did you grow up? And then I grew up in Los Angeles. But I realized that if I said things like, I was talking to somebody recently, and they were telling me that they had salmon for dinner last night. Salmon, yeah. It's not pronounced salmon, it's pronounced salmon. And I know people will say like, no, that's not the way I grew up. I know, but here's the thing. It's pronounced salmon. Here, people will roll their eyes. What difference does it make? When you go and talk to people in the world and you say something like, I had salmon for dinner, where did you eat it? At the buffet instead of the buffet? People will hear that and go, did you say salmon? Oh, sorry, go ahead. What were you saying about the buffet instead of the buffet? And you might think like, it's just a difference in pronunciation. No, actually it's not. It's a mispronunciation, which means people in the world will judge you. And this person I mentioned it to, she said to me that she just didn't care. She's like, I don't care. People can judge what they want. It's one thing to say that, but you're sitting there at the interview, and the guy who's interviewing you asks you how you're doing. Oh, good. Hey, where are you coming from? I just came from lunch. Oh, what'd you have? I had salmon. Okay. That person is going to judge you, whether you like it or not. And there's this sense of us sometimes where we say, I'm just not going to change because I'm not going to grow. Well, no, if you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. If you're pronouncing it wrong, you're pronouncing it wrong. It's just like if I were to say salmon, if I were to say salmon, you might say, oh, you're saying it wrong. And I know that because people do it when I mispronounce things in Spanish. And so it's true. People will judge you by the language that's used, by the way that you speak. And I realized this. And so I decided to change the way that I spoke, understanding that. Because one of the things that gets passed down to, like I said, starts off this whole thing, is our parents and how they speak, and we learn from them. And so we might feel sometimes like it's a betrayal if I change that about me. We might feel like, oh, it's a betrayal if I change that about me. No, it's sharpening, it's improving, it's getting better. It's putting yourself in the best possible situation, because life is difficult enough, and especially like in social circumstances or professional circumstances, people are already looking for ways to figure out how to dichotomize people and categorize us. You give yourself the best possible advantage by doing things properly. It's like, how can you separate, in my first and second period classes, how do I figure out whose names do I learn first? I learn the names of the people who are late every year. Why? Is it because I want to look at them and go, oh my God, you're the late person, I want to know who you are? No, it's because when I go through the attendance correction in Infinite Campus, that's how I see your name. That's how I put your name in. That's not a good thing to be known that way. So now what do you suppose happens when I sit down and I see an assignment from so-and-so who's late all the time? And you might say, it doesn't matter. Yeah, the idea that it doesn't matter is exactly why it matters. It means that we're unable to see why it matters. That means we're not able to see the impact of the things that we do. What does it mean if a person's late all the time? Well, you don't know their situation. I like doing that. We have to fold our arms, scratch our shins, and pretend like we're a caring person. You don't know their situation. All the love in the world, man. And I mean this with all the love in the world. I don't care. I don't care. Well, what if they have to drop off their little brother at school? I hear you, man. It's not my little brother. I didn't have him. I didn't have you. I'm not the one who's responsible for getting people in places. That's your job in life to figure out. That's so mean. No, it's so real. If I come along and just make excuses for you, what am I telling you? No, you guys aren't able to take care of yourselves. You need me. And by the way, there are lots of people out there who really like that role. Because the more that you need me, the more I feel like I have a meaning, I have a purpose. But here's the thing, you already have parents. You already have parents. You already have a family. You already have people in your lives. Now let me scratch my chin and frown again. Yeah, but I don't have the families other people have. That's true, and that's your burden to carry. Just like some people have the families they do have, and that's the burden that they carry. We all have the burdens we carry. If I step in and try to rescue you from all of your burdens, the message I'm sending to you is I believe you're too weak to carry your burdens. If there's stuff going on in your family lives that make it difficult for you guys to be here and to work, this isn't Scanlon talking, man. This is actually Stephen talking to you. I feel for you, man. I really do. I really, really do. Because I know that those are things that really impact you, man. I know it. I saw it. I grew up with it. I know it, man. I know it. And there's that part of me that wants to step in and go, I can help. I can make something easier. And then there's that part of me, that Scanlon, that says, that doesn't make them better, dude. If I deal with your problems for you, you never learn how to deal with it. And that means you go through life without a good foundation for how to deal with problems in your life. You know, there's that balance. And some of you, if you well, actually you wouldn't have had me before, but if you have me like those first couple of periods, even in here, anybody here have been late and I pull you aside? Hey, why are you late? Sit down, why are you late? No, I don't treat you that way. Because I figure in my head, something, I don't know what, there's that balance, but I still mark you late. Even I have like seniors who have like all kinds of absences and tardies, and they'll come to me and be like, oh man, I'm on the non-privilege, I'm this, I'm that. I'm Mom, I hear you. Now, why do they show up late? A lot of times it's just because I don't say anything. I don't give them grief. So they're like, oh, I can do it. And so why did I say that way? Why did I talk this way? Same reason as all of us. These things are passed down through culture. It's not just the trauma, dude. It's also the good parts of you, man. Some of you guys, it's like I meet you and I meet some of your parents on open house, and I'm like, and I walk away laughing, going like, Yep, I wouldn't even need a DNA test. They are exactly like them in really good ways, very positive ways. Some of you guys are in a dark forest because your parents are struggling so much. But here's the thing, man, you see them. And that might put it into you to work hard and to learn how to overcome difficulties and challenges. Some people, parents aren't around, I see them, and then they just screw right off and do whatever the hell they want to do, and they completely dishonor and embarrass their parents. They don't even realize it. But everybody who sees you act the way you act, they look at your parents and they go, huh. You know? Every single one. Just because we don't pull you aside and tell you that doesn't mean it's not happening. Not every judgment against you gets brought to your attention, just like not every judgment in your favor gets brought to your attention. And so that's a good thing to always have in your head, like, shoot, man, how am I making someone look right now, you know? And for positive and negative, because there's also a lot of things that you guys do. To be able to sit there and go, this is like the thing I'm doing right now, it honors my parents, man. They taught me hard work. I saw that they're not really around as much as they could be because they're working so much. That means I have a lot of free time. You know what? I'm going to use it to honor them. I'm going to lock this stuff down so they don't have to worry about it. I'm going to do my chores so that when they get home at night and they're tired, stuff's already done. I'm going to take care of school so that they don't have to keep getting messages from my teachers, or they don't have to keep getting messages about my failing grades, so that they don't have to worry about that. I appreciate what they've done. When I was growing up, my mom was disabled. She couldn't walk. And my dad worked at McDonald's. There wasn't a lot of people to follow Scanlon around. And so I had that choice. Wow, they could never get, and my mom couldn't catch me if I ran away anyway. My dad was not home until nighttime anyway. You have those choices in life. Did I always go the right way? Oh no. No, I wasn't a bad kid. I was mischievous. Some of you are which is another word for saying I didn't always do those right things. It isn't about always doing the right thing. You screw up, that's true. It isn't about being perfect, that's true. But it's always about trying to be perfect, trying to be the best that you can. And carry it with you, realizing no one's perfect. And then also adding that little asterisk, well, not with that attitude. In other words, be the best you possibly can in whatever it is that you're doing, man. And so all of these things are passed down. When I look at you, I can usually get a really strong sense of what was passed down to you and what we've received. And that was one of the harder realizations of my life, by the way. I was listening to some videos recently, and I stopped it, and I sat back in my chair, and I said, holy crap, dude, it took 45 years. But I'm looking at it, and I go, that sounds just like something my dad would have said. And I mean like the way I said it, even. I heard it and it reminded me. My dad died years ago, but I felt like I heard him talking. So the way he spoke, that came through in the video. That this way of speaking that I've created kind of fell away. And the thing that was in me, that's still in me, even if I don't water it, it's still there. I just thought, holy crap, that sounded like the way my dad talked. And I thought, that's pretty sick. Then continued listening to it. And so, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? All right. We didn't get to your thing, but I'm going to say it real quick.